Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, gentlemen, we are live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Happy Negotiation Window Day, otherwise known as legal tampering in the National Football League.
Yeah, I can wave the flag again since it's a Purple Daily channel.
Okay, and wave the flag because the Vikings got a guy.
Yep, that's right.
They got a guy. We were live for the first hour and a half, and you can go back and listen as we reacted with our guy Thorne Eistrom on our new Football Takes podcast and that YouTube channel, and we just reacted to what was a really busy first hour and a half. But once some Vikings news started coming down the pipeline, I said, all right, let's shift over to Purple Daily here, and we will react to the first wave of Vikings-related news, which comes in the form of defense and special teams after Judd talks about Quick Trip here.
I would love to talk about Quick Trip because you know what? If you are a free agent for a convenience store that's basically a grocery store, then I'm going to tell you right now there is only one choice, top of the draft board, and it is Quick Trip. And what about this? Quick Trip's Quickery Bacon, now just $2.99 for a 12-ounce pack. Crispy Applewood smoked goodness to go alongside your breakfast favorites, or how about on top of a sizzling, juicy burger? Again, Crispy Applewood, are you kidding me? Sounds awesome, right? The offer is valid through March 23rd. A limit of 2 packs per customer. Bring the whole family, though, and I bet you can all buy 2. So make your taste buds and wallet happy today, only at Quick Trip with that delicious bacon.
Also, shout out over to Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, which power any hot takes that you are about to encounter on these Monday episodes. Dex?
That's right. I keep quoting Homer Simpson with this lousy Smarch weather. It's 60 and 50 one day. Then we have snow coming on Wednesday. Your HVAC, do you turn it on? Do you turn it off? Do you turn the heat on? All this craziness, right? Well, making sure it's working appropriately is the best way to do that. And you can get a $45 off a furnace tune-up right now at Standard Heating. So go to standardheating.com. You can go to their coupons page. Tell them that Purple Daily sent you. Yes to the audience. They're always at my house. They actually just live down here in the basement in the HVAC system. Standardheating.com. Tell them that Purple Daily sent you.
All right, dudes. Well, let's just start getting into some of the latest Vikings-related happenings. I'll throw 2 things out, and we can dive into them. Number 1, the Vikings agreed to terms with veteran cornerback James Pierre. James Pierre has been mostly with the Pittsburgh Steelers for like the past 6 seasons. There was a brief period either last year or the year before where he went to Washington off-season and camp, and then I think they cut him. I can't remember how he went back to Pittsburgh, but he went back to Pittsburgh. So he's only played for Pittsburgh in terms of in-season. He was, and this is a small sample size, but he was graded as the number 2 cornerback in the NFL last season, PFF. But he comes in here not as like a shutdown number 1 cornerback guy, as a depth guy, most likely, who plays mostly on the outside. It's a 2-year, $8.5 million deal with $3.7 million guaranteed, according to his agency. Gets a $2.5 million signing bonus for, so basically for like the price that punters are now going for in free agency, the Vikings found themselves a really good 29-year-old veteran depth cornerback that had Brian Flores on that Pittsburgh staff a few years ago, and helps move Byron Murphy to the inside in the slot when the Vikings do use 3 cornerbacks.
And so this is the second consecutive off season in which I think it's fair to say on the opening day of free agency that Brian Flores has gotten his wish. A year ago, it wasn't like Isaiah Rodgers Sr. was a household name, right? And they signed him. In fact, I think he was the first guy that they signed on a day when they were quite active. And they signed him, and he had the phenomenal game against the Bengals. And had, I thought, you know what, a solid year. And so this now goes to a guy, James Pierre, who not only played for Flores, but also Jared Alexander, who's going to be the new DB's coach, replacing Durante Jones. So Alexander comes from Pittsburgh as well, and Coach Jones for the last few seasons. I like this in that sense. I like this in the sense that, one, I don't know what the Vikings were thinking exactly a year ago, when they somehow thought that they could get the most from Jeff Okudah, who who one was a bust, but two, probably more importantly and fairly to Okudah, is always hurt. He suffers a concussion in, I think it was that Week 9 game against the Chargers. He's lost after that. Fabian Moreau, who's now a free agent, I don't know if he's coming back or not, but he had to step in there. And keep in mind, you play three corners a ton. Now, the Vikings try to play three safeties more because of that, but I don't know that that's ideal. I also like this now from the angle of Byron Murphy Jr., as you just said, Phil, can go inside. I think he's a lot more, and I'm not comparing him exactly because it's not fair, but I think he's probably a lot more comfortable in the role that Antoine Winfield got into late in his career, where he stopped being an outside corner, played inside, and was fabulous. So this, to me, one, makes the dominoes probably fall more smoothly from a cornerback situation, and two, for all of these guys who come and say, man, Flores' defense is good, but I didn't realize, right? I didn't know what I was going to be asked to do, or I didn't get the splash plays I expected. This is a guy that definitely knows exactly what he's going to be asked to do, which in Flores' system, I think there's something to be said for that.
Agreed. He's looking for specific types of players and high IQ players that can do the things that he's demanding and asking. And Thor brought this up on Football Takes, but James Pierre also in his 6-year NFL career has played 1,390 special team snaps across all four phases. So and including last year, by the way, like he's been a 4-phase special teamer throughout his career. Last year was only the second time in his defensive career that he played more than 400 snaps. So he's been a part-time defensive player and a backup mostly, but he was thrust into a bigger role defensively with the Steelers. And he, in 35 targets against him, only gave up 16 catches and a 57.2 passer rating against. If you extrapolate out like his entire career, he's been targeted 125 times in his career, 55% completion rate, which is awesome for a cornerback, and just an 87.7 passer rating against, which in today's NFL, I believe the average passer rating is over 90 now for NFL quarterbacks. So for his 6-year career, he's not Revis Island from 10 years ago, but he is a very respectable depth cornerback that has held his own in coverage for over a half decade. So for like $4 million a year AAV, nice little way to jump out of the gate for the Vikings in free agency.
Yeah, and it feels like Brian Flores has just a very specific athlete and specific target he wants for certain positions, just like cornerback too. So instead of trying to like draft one and seeing if that's a fit and learning all the scheme and learning all this stuff, why don't you bring a guy who has some familiarity playing the position and just makes that room that much better too. So I'm a fan of this. I think it, even though it's not a sexy big overpay, which I don't think they needed to do that for this position, just makes that position group that much better too.
The cautionary thing too is this. A year ago, and it was a lot of fun, right? The Vikings made a lot of splashes, a lot of signings. You didn't make the playoffs. So, like, if you are going to fill in guys here, if you are like, and this is wait and see, obviously, but if you can start to have effective drafts, I'm not even saying great drafts, I'm saying effective drafts, this is much more how you construct a roster, and you don't have to go up against the cap to do so. So, it's funny because when teams sign a bunch of guys, you always get, and I get it, rightfully excited. And you're like, oh man, this guy, and if he does this and the upper echelon projections. And a lot of times it's like, oh, unfortunately, that guy is now 32 years old. It doesn't happen. So I don't mind this start at all as far as the approach here, because we have seen the flip side. And 2 years ago, it was probably, I think it was the best free agent class in franchise history. Last year was sort of a bust in lots of ways. So this year is probably the year that you get back to making wise decisions. You're not all out, but you certainly don't have to be as in as you were last season or last year.
Okay, the other news that just came across here in the last, 45 minutes.
Talk about this.
Ryan Wright gets a punter bag, but not from the Vikings. So he was a free agent, and according to multiple reports, the New Orleans Saints have given Ryan Wright I believe it is 4 years and $14 million. There was another punter that signed for like $4 million a year. It was like a 3-year, $12 million deal. So the Vikings lose their punter and Judd. More importantly, perhaps, they lose their holder for one of the best kickers in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you put stock into punter PFF grades, Ryan Wright was the 6th best punter out of 33 qualified in the NFL last year, 81.3 punting grade, and across the board, he had some of the best punting statistics of his 4-year career with the Vikings. But now he's a Saint.
What was his punting, if you can look at PFF for 2024? Because I felt like he had a really poor season. I believe on this show I called for his demise as the Vikings punter, and then he came back, as you just pointed out, with a really nice 2025 season.
Yeah, he was. So let me pull this up here, just relative to the league. I'll just give you his punting PFF grade rank was 6th last year.
Yep.
In 2024, it wasn't a train wreck, but it was 17th out of 34 qualified punters.
Okay.
So he's never been like atrocious. He's always, I think they had some issues for a while. They wanted him to stick a few more punts inside the 10-yard line here and there.
They did.
But they're going to have to go back to the drive. Now, they've brought in a couple punters for competition the last couple of years, so they've definitely been sniffing around and working some guys out. But they're also going to have to rebuild some chemistry between. And by the way, Andrew DePaula, 39 years old, their long snapper, is a free agent or might retire. I mean, he's almost 40 years old. So I'm a little less worried about, can you find a punter with some good hang time who can stick the ball inside the 20? And more worried about blowing up your entire field goal kicking process for one of the best kickers in the league. I'm on the Judd train here.
Yep, I'm a little bit concerned here. So this actually now because the long snapper, the holder, and the kicker don't do a ton of work in training camp, you do get a bunch of time. But like that in-game, being in sync in-game, like you can't replicate that in August, right? You're on the side practice field, everything is quiet, and you're attempting kicks, but you can't replicate that. So in all candidness, now Reichert is exceptional. There's not a lot of concern about his kicking ability. I think his only semi-rough stretch came when it turned out that he was hurt in his rookie year. That being said, I wouldn't dismiss this, and who you go out and get for your punter, you have to make damn sure that person can hold.
Yeah.
So especially when you're trying these kicks now, you're trying 56-yard kicks.
Judd's camp notes is going to be, we need like a separate listing here for the most important storylines developing for Judd's camp notes.
I have to go to a side field with this puppy.
There you go.
Watch it on the side fields.
By the way, as we're live here, just like if you were with us for the Football Takes live extravaganza, whenever you hear this, it means somebody just got a bag in free agency. And oh my gosh.
Okay.
If there were any Vikings fans hoping that Iowa native Tyler Linderbaum would come back to the Midwest, come back, maybe put a purple jersey on.
Yep.
He just reached an agreement on a record interior offensive lineman contract with the Raiders, who are probably paying a Raiders tax. He signs or agrees to a 3-year, $81 million deal.
Oh my God.
That includes $60 million in guarantees and makes him the highest paid interior offensive lineman in NFL history. Wow. For some context. So what's 81 divided by 3 for the AAV? That's $27 million a year AAV. Creed Humphrey, going into this free agency, was the highest paid average annual value center for the Chiefs.
Yep.
$18 million a year. So Tyler Linderbaum, this is the tax the Raiders had to pay for being the Raiders. Tyler Linderbaum resets the center market by $9 million more per year average annual value.
Does it say what the guarantees are?
60.
Oh my God.
I think I saw 60.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think the Vikings were a possibility, but I didn't realize that much. Although, if you look, the Raiders are so far under the cap that they can pay what they want. So, but my God, for a center, I know they're important, but that is phenomenal.
If
Good
you're
for him.
we will spin this into a Vikings discussion because center is the need on the offensive line. And I know there were some Vikings fans on the fringes, and we threw this out on Sunday. What are they planning for? Is there some big thing? Why are they clearing so much space? And I know some people had some hope that, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe they could go get a Linderbaum, but it always felt highly unlikely. But if you're the Raiders and you've got a rookie quarterback coming in with the number 1 overall pick, you're going into rebuild mode.
Yeah.
And Tyler Linderbaum is saying, man, I just came from Baltimore where we never got to a Super Bowl, but we were in the mix as a Super Bowl favorite year after year after year. And these are probably the last years of his, he's going to play 3 more years at this level, and then who knows after that, right? Mm-hmm. You know you ain't going to a Super Bowl in the next 2 years with the Raiders, and probably ever with the Raiders. So they had to pay for all that, and that's why he gets $27 million a year. But they also get a veteran, credible guy to work with Fernando Mendoza coming in. So I get it kind of from all angles, but holy cow, what a bag.
That's a really intriguing point, though, because we are seeing now, and it feels like especially centers, but we are seeing feels like offensive interior linemen start to say around the age of 28 or so, I think I'm done playing. And those guys, I've always thought those guys are probably concussed more than we know because it's that short impact on blocking. So I don't even know if they show signs of being concussed, but 3 years, if you're going to get 60 guaranteed, you could pretty easily say, you know what, it's been a great run here. Didn't win a Super Bowl, had lots of fun, got paid really well once, done playing.
Yeah.
Go live your life.
And as it pertains to the Vikings here, so Linderbaum off the board. Connor McGovern went back to the Bills, didn't he? He's a free. I thought he went back to the Bills. Is it pronounced Tyler Biotish? He went and signed. Yeah. He went
Chargers
to the Chargers.
Yeah, Bears tried to get him.
And then Cade Mays, the Panther center, just went to the Lions. But there's not a lot going on the center market now that some of these names are off the board. So if you're the Vikings, how do you feel about right now Blake Brandel and Michael Juergens plus the draft, I guess, as your main pipelines for a starting center?
Speaking of that, when the Bears whiffed on Biotish, did you see who they traded for? Garrett Bradbury.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Garrett Bradbury is the Bears. And I also saw, interestingly enough, that I think it was late last night or yesterday at some point, the Texans locked up Ed Ingram to like a 3-year contract.
Yeah. Yep. I saw Ian Rappaport. He had the whole thing where he put the agent give credit and said, standout guard, Ed Ingram. And he did have a better year, but in pass protection, he still gave up like a bunch of pressures.
Not familiar with his work.
As a run blocker, he was very highly graded last year. But yeah, on the center front, where are you at now that free agency, they're not making a big splash in free agency like last year with Ryan Kelly, it looks like at this point.
Well, based on, unless you're going to draft one, based on what I saw, I would give Brandel the first chance because I think he can play there, and I think he's a smart enough guy. Juergens still scares me, but my issue with Brandel, though, is he is such a valuable swingman backup. And, as we've learned, guys are going to go down. I mean, Christian Darrisaw was literally taking himself out of games. Now Justin School backed him up. I think Justin School is also a free agent. I wouldn't be shocked if he does not come back. But if you told me right now to pick one to open training camp with from the candidates on the current roster, I would probably lean towards Brandel over Juergens, even though Juergens got the majority of snaps there, it felt like, when Kelly was out.
I agree with that. I guess if Juergens takes a big step forward and they love him, but then you draft someone on day 2 or day 3 and you throw him into the mix as well. The running back market is something to continue to keep an eye on. Kenneth Gainwell already came off the board right to Tampa like an hour ago. So some of these guys that could be in the mix, if you're looking for like a 1B or even a 1A to pair with Jordan Mason, someone that you can rely on maybe on third downs, pass protection. Well, this guy I think would have been too much of a duplicate in some ways, in terms like short yardage, But Tyler Algier, who is very good in pass protection, he agrees to a 2-year deal for $12 million with the Cardinals. So Tyler Algier off the board. But there's still like Rashad White is out there. I mean, Travis Etienne would be awesome if the Vikings could pony up a little bit more. But you got to wonder what their plan is at running back with Aaron Jones gone. Maybe Aaron Jones comes back for less money. That's been floated out there too.
So on the first 2 days of the draft, what positions do we think they're going to target specifically?
Well, without knowing what else they do with their free agent money.
Right. But I mean, there's not, so like,
defensive tackle feels like the number one.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised defensive tackle. I also wouldn't be surprised at all if they do target a running back early.
Yes, I wouldn't be shocked about that.
I think those are two positions. And then, yes, as Jaden Berry 61-2 says here, safety as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good cornerback and safety talent, like late first round, second round, and we've been covering that in the mock drafts with Thor too. I know he's doing a mock draft Monday, but we'll keep you posted as we hang out here live on anything else, either Vikings breaking news or things that pertain to the Vikings at positions that they're likely to be sniffing around in. Let's get to some of the things that have happened or are percolating outside of this last hour and a half or 2 hour window. Eric Wilson re-signed with the Vikings on a 3-year, $22.5 million deal. He's like 31 years old. It's $12.5 million fully guaranteed. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those funny money deals. Feels to me like more of maybe like a 2-year, $12 million commitment. And then there's other ways that money could come to fruition. But what are your thoughts on Eric Wilson back with the Vikings after a breakout season in his early 30s?
First of all, I would like to credit the aforementioned Judd's Camp Notes because he was wrong about a lot of stuff last summer. I'll tell you that right now.
Take that victory lap. Yeah.
But if you guys recall, I told you Eric Wilson looks like he fits here. I think Eric Wilson is another one of those guys that Flores employed, and he worked, and I think he works well. I think he is the thing that we keep coming back to and have for a long time is a lot of this defense is based not just on your abilities, but your smarts. Eric Wilson strikes me as a really smart player. I saw objections to this contract, but to me it strikes me as a 2-year contract, and 12.5 guaranteed is not like a ton. So I think it's a very reasonable contract. Do I think that he's going to play here for 5 more years? Absolutely not. But just, I think that Eric Wilson was smart enough to know I could shop myself and I might get more. But you know what? I'm also going to potentially set myself up to fail because I'm such a good fit there. I think the Vikings gave him what I would consider to be a very fair contract. So this is one I like, and I think we need to keep in mind sort of what Flores wants, because I think we all want splashes, right? It's a lot more fun. Javon Hargrave was a splash. Thud. Jonathan Allen. Oh, man, I remember him. He can get after the quarterback. I mean, I said this too. So at the time, thud.
Yeah. Well, I think we also, in fairness, how did no one inform Javon Hargrave, hey, your role in Flores' system is sometimes setting up someone else to be the hero.
Yeah. True.
You're not going to maybe get the sacks that you would. Like, how is that not part of the discussion? That
Very
was
true.
baffling to me.
Very
Maybe
true.
that falls on Kwesi. Communication.
Fair contract, though. I like it. And he was essentially brought here to be a backup linebacker and a special teams ace and played well on both. So I have zero problem with both sides coming to an agreement that works. And I think that if you get 2 more years from him, high quality play, solid play, it's a good deal.
They seem to also be like James Pierre also played a decent amount of special teams too with Pittsburgh last year. Played 45% of the special team snaps, played over 60% of them the past 2 seasons. Eric Wilson also can factor into those special team snaps. Now they lost their punter, obviously, and Ryan Wright. They're going to figure out how to go about that. But it is for a unit that was one of the worst, and there is more than just not having the right body or right punter to get this right, but pun intended. But they have kind of prioritized this so far early. These are the first 2 things, and we can hyper-focus on it. But you have Eric Wilson, who can play special team snaps and is this great kind of pseudo-blitzer when asked to do it. And James Pierre has also played some special team snaps too. So it is kind of an interesting area where it was a big weakness for them. And it's not the sexiest or splashiest thing, but it is still an incredibly important area that they have to improve on if they want to have more success next year.
Absolutely. So an interesting aside here about the special teams play of Pierre. Alec Lewis, our friend from The Athletic, tweets, James Pierre is a really good gunner. So if the Vikings play Jay Ward more, who's a safety on defense, the expectation is that he will play more on defense. Pierre can help in that role too. May I throw this theory at both of you, though?
Wow.
If there is to be the gauntlet thrown down in front of a wide receivers coach, Keenan McCardell, we expect more from Ty Felton. You told us to draft him. We took him in the 3rd round. You're a good coach. You know, I know we've joked about this, but Ty Felton was a gunner as well, and that was his greatest contribution as a 3rd-round pick and a receiver. I wonder if there is an internal expectation, which I think would be incredibly fair, of, hey, we're not just going to give up on Ty Felton, but if we're going to expect more from him as a wide receiver, he might not be a gunner as much. So that's just another thought. I have no proof of this, but I do think it would be ridiculous to say, guy had a, spotty rookie season, didn't look great in training camp. We're just going to have him be a gunner? He's a wide receiver. He's a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah,
that's
I
way
get
too
them
high.
like trying to get value out of him, but yeah, it is. He's not a 6th rounder. I'm with you. I think
Right.
The focus should be on, is there something he can do? Or I mean, right now he's kind of their number 3 receiver because Jalen Nailor's a free agent.
Yep.
Now they'll probably add someone so that they're not going into a critical offseason here with Ty Felton as the number 3.
Yep.
Real quick, this pertains to the Vikings. It's a name off the board. Travis Etienne signing with or I should say agreeing to terms with. You can't actually sign until Wednesday when the
dare you.
NFL New Year begins.
How dare you violate the trust that the National Football League has given us today?
But Travis Etienne to the New Orleans Saints. So just taking some running backs off the board. And then, holy cow, more bags. According to Jordan Schultz, Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson to the Titans.
Yep.
So he's going to reunite with Brian Daboll, who's the OC in Tennessee, and he'll be a weapon for Cam Ward, who didn't have very many of them in his rookie season in Tennessee. I want to throw out 2 more things on Eric Wilson. He last season, and he wasn't signed to do this. Declan laid out he was signed as a depth guy who could play some special teams and be there in case you're needed. Mm-hmm. And he finished the season 3rd on the team in pressures as a pass rusher, and top 10 among all defensive players in the league in stop tackles, mostly in the running game. So part of me is like, boy, he's 32 years old, and it kind of feels like you're rewarding him for past performance versus paying him for what might be projected. You're kind of paying for a pop-up season. On the other hand, Brian Flores knows what he's looking at with some of these little gap filling pieces.
Yep.
And this does kind of feel like in a month filled with Rob Brzezinski doing his long-term Rob Brzezinski book cleanings, right? Mm-hmm. This felt to me like the first obviously coaching staff driven signing or move where, hey, if you want to cut Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, and you want to play hardball with TJ Hawkinson, go do your Rob Brzezinski thing here. Give us Eric Wilson back, okay? Give us a couple of these things. Especially at that position for the Vikings, which only really had Blake Cashman under contract. It was one of the thinnest position groups on the roster. So I'm kind of swallowing hard on him turning 32, Eric Wilson, in September, and him not being a perennial starting caliber high snap player. And I'm trusting Brian Flores that he can repeat at least 80% of the productivity he had in 2025.
It's a 2-year contract, essentially, and I guarantee you, Brzezinski, I guarantee you that if and when we see this contract, you're going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. It's not going to be a prohibitive contract. We should also bring up the fact that it looks like earlier today or last night, Ivan Pace received a 1-year tender, but it was the low tender. So that means that if a team makes him an offer as a restricted free agent and he goes, which means what this means right now is the Vikings can match it. If the Vikings elect not to match it, though, there's no compensation. But as of right now, I thought that they just might let Pace walk. As of now, he's coming back for not much. In fact, it's the first rate of refusal low tender is $3.5 million. But Ivan Pace sounds like he's still going to be on the roster, which I questioned a lot because it really felt like by about halfway through last season, the Vikings, who had a great find in Pace as a UDFA a couple of years ago, didn't have a real use for him, at least on defense.
Yeah, he got real penalty happy. He actually committed 5 penalties on special teams alone last year. Ugh. I mean, he was a 4-phase special teamer. I guess what was the financial tender there if he comes back?
$3.5 million.
It's a little lofty for a guy that's not slated to start and isn't necessarily a special teams ace for you. Like if he was a special teams ace and you could convert him into that role, I would say, okay, maybe they have some plans for him in that regard. But yeah, it kind of feels like they did a really good job getting the most out of him for like a year or two, and his flaws just got picked apart by certain offenses. Absolutely. In terms of like his ability to cover tight ends. Not the biggest guy, but I think it'll go down as a successful UDFA era, even if Ivan Pace doesn't come back. Like they got some productivity out of him, and you're just probably not going to get a decade out of that. So those are the things that have kind of happened newsworthy-wise over the past few days. Let's get into the quarterback discussion because there's some things also being reported in and around. We can kind of put some puzzle pieces together as well as it pertains to what the Vikings might do at quarterback and Kyler Murray. But a couple shout-outs here. For one, this Thursday is our next Purple Daily Unplugged event, and it's at Black Stack Brewing in St. Paul. So Thursday, 5 to 7 p.m., open to the public, and we're going to do a live podcast recapping what they've done in free agency and trades and whatnot this week. You can try a Shamrock Shake slushy, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, as well as Black Stack's new New England IPA. There's a food truck on site. The first 120 people to arrive also get a free Purple Daily and Black Stack pint glass. You must be 21 or older. Come hang out with us. Thursday, Black Stack, 5 to 7 p.m. More information at purpledaily.com/unplugged, Judd. Also, Mystic Lake is a place, speaking of unplugged events, we got our draft party coming up on April 23rd there as well. Mystic Lake, a great spot.
Yep, a place that, guess what? The hat trick of fun. You can stay, dine, and unwind all in one place. And, of course, that is with our friends at Mystic Lake. It all starts on the floor. You got the table games. You got the hot slots. Catch an unforgettable night with the stars in the Mystic Showroom. And then head to the Hop House where the draft party is going to be. Great food, great drinks, a great time. And if you want to watch sports, the Hop House, probably the best place in town to do so. Every TV, turn to games that you want. Can I interest you in wings and burgers? How about the Mystic Steakhouse? How about savoring lobster and steak? I mean, and then you can go to the spa and you're staying there. So you go up to your room. Are you joking? Stay, dine, unwind, all at Mystic Lake. It's this simple. Just go to mysticlake.com, mysticlake.com, and also make sure to join us at the Hop House for the draft party. And in fact, you know what? Make a weekend of it by staying at Mystic Lake.
So as you put together some of the quarterback puzzle pieces here, and this could, like anything could kind of change, a report could come out here. We're sitting here live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. But we know that based on reporting the last couple days, Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, Kirk Cousins, and Geno Smith are all getting released on Wednesday. They can't be released officially until Wednesday afternoon because they all have guaranteed money in 2026. So procedurally, they have to stay under, like they can't be cut before 2026 or it like violates the 2025 cap rules. Don't ask me for any further information. It's all kind of confusing. But so those guys all been reported. They've all been notified. You're going to be released, but it can't happen officially until Wednesday. Well, one of those four, there's already been advancements in the reporting for Tua Tagovailoa, according to Tom Pelissero and some others. He's apparently already going to Atlanta. So once he gets released on Wednesday, and by the way, the Dolphins are going to pick up $99 million in dead cap spread over 2 years. They're doing a post-June 1st designation, but he still becomes available to sign elsewhere. The other three, there has been, to this point, no connection directly to, like, this player is now going to do this with this team. But Diana Rossini from The Athletic said, quote, I can tell you from talking to some players in Minnesota, they want Kyler there. Albert Breer had this. I sense that Minnesota is Kyler Murray's preference and that the Vikings are mulling their options. I'd love to see what Kevin O'Connell would be able to do with Kyler Murray. I think J.J. McCarthy will be on the Vikings roster next year as well, competing with another quarterback to start, maybe Kyler. He also adds this, by the way. Jonathan Greenard's fate will depend on whether another team is willing to give him a raise and meet Minnesota's price on a trade compensation. Jordan Addison is the wild card to me, given his contract situations. We can park the Greenard Addison stuff. We should get back to that. But there continues to be a lot of Kyler Murray and Vikings discussion and smoke. And if you take out some of the quarterback needy teams, Miami, Malik Willis, done. It sounds like Tua, Atlanta, done. Left-handed quarterback convention. And then Daniel Jones, Colts, kind of done in that, like, he's on a transition tag now. So, you know, the Jets are still open for business. The Cardinals are still open for business. But it feels like the Kyler Murray Vikings thing is getting closer and closer here.
Do we have any reporting done today about where or who Geno might be going to? Because, you know, Geno and Kyler are the two guys who have been brought up as potentials here. And I think there's an argument to be made about both. And I think there might be steam for Geno going elsewhere as well. So Kyler is the most logical one here. It does sound like, and I don't know where he's going to get a job. Part of the Cousins thing, I guess, is Kirk Cousins is very unlikely to accept the 1.3 million base that Tua will take for sure. Dude's due 54 million bucks. Kyler is due 36.8. All right. Geno's due 18.5. So he might want more as well. Kirk is due $10 million from the Falcons. And I know you're going to be shocked when I tell you this, but it sounds like Kirk wants more.
So if Kirk agrees to less than 10 million, he'll just do a 1.3 and then, right? Because it's offsetting with him too, isn't it?
It's offsetting,
The
but I
10
think,
million?
but I don't know how this would work. But it sounds like Kirk would want his 10 million, and then it would want more from the team that signs him. I don't understand, but anyway, the point is Kirk is being Kirk, and with Kirk being Kirk, you're not going to pay him a ton. So just from a financial standpoint, Kyler also might make the most sense because due $36.8 million, he will take your 1.3, thank you, and play for your team. So yes, I think both from how the tea leaves are going and from a financial standpoint, Kyler coming here makes sense. I would be curious though about if the door is closed on Geno or not, because I'm not sure about your guys' feeling right now, but mine is this. If you go with Kyler, I just don't really see it being a competition in training camp. I think he comes here to start, which he probably should. With Geno, because of his age, I think it's a little bit more of a plausible explanation that it's a competition. But my question for the Vikings is this: do you even care?
Yeah, I don't need it. For the record, like, I don't personally care if it's a competition or not. I want the Vikings to have good quarterback play. Now, there are a bunch of different paths to explore getting that good quarterback play. And Kyler Murray clearly is the only one of these guys, like, unless you count Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles. But when you're staring at like Geno and Kirk and Derek Carr, these guys are all mid-30s or older. Those are 1 year veteran stopgap bridge guys that you would want competing with McCarthy and kind of gauge, can McCarthy beat one of those dudes out, take his game to a new level, and blast off? Kyler is more of, can you squeeze what was supposed to be squeezed out of him as the former number 1 overall pick?
Correct.
And get him to maybe be your long-term option. And that's completely up to the Vikings to decide, A, is he that guy? And for $1.3 million, there's zero downside other than, like, this is the only downside. Cutting off J.J. McCarthy's development and ability to get on the field, and thus cutting off whatever upside he might have. And there's a lot of Vikings fans and maybe even people in that building that have already decided that's not even a thing. He's a bust. Why do you care about giving him an open door or like an option to progress forward? And I say, because he's 23 and he has a huge arm and he was second in big time throw rate. And you saw what he looked like in some of the peaks and the flashes. And so, you know, I'm curious to at least keep him on the roster. Like, I'm not flipping him for a 6th round pick, or like, keep him on the team minimum so that if something happens, someone gets hurt or someone performs poorly, you leave that possibility for him to play 6 or 7 or 8 games and show you something. But it feels like they're going to go with Kyler because he's going to be a cheap former number 1 overall pick, and B, kind of feels like they're ready to just park J.J. McCarthy for a little bit and make him prove something.
I think it's probably safe to assume if they bring in Kyler Murray, yes, he is the presumed starter. If you were like putting percentage or odds on it of who's the starting quarterback for the Vikings once, you know, this goes down in 48 hours, is it J.J. McCarthy or is it Kyler Murray? And I feel like Murray would be the starter by like obviously way more than 50%. You're probably talking like an 80 to 20% chance, 20% on McCarthy, 80 on Kyler. But I also believe that this does not rule out that J.J. McCarthy could not still win the job. Like, Kyler Murray might just be broken. There were some things that worked well for him at times, but he also just might be broken. And if you're bringing him in here on a 1-year deal, and if O'Connell wants to get his teeth in and sink him in and let him fail in the game actions for the first 5-6 weeks, so be it. Maybe that is the plan. But for me, I'm not ruling out that J.J. McCarthy could still even maybe win the job still, even though the chances are slim, and or use it, benefit from it, and if he takes over mid-season, and that's exactly what he needed, it's a win. I really, maybe it's a hot take, I don't think it's a detriment to J.J. McCarthy if they bring in Kyler Murray in the next 48 hours.
Vikings-related bag that we'll get to in a second here. Yeah, but to echo what Declan was saying, we can sit here and rightfully debate Kyler Murray's fit and flaws and why he was even cut and available in the first place after being a number 1 overall pick with Arizona, which is a desperate franchise. Like, there are red flags there, but also a quarterback room that includes a 28-year-old former number 1 overall pick who has played at a really high level in the NFL for long stretches in Kyler, and a 23-year-old former number 10 overall pick who's still getting better and getting healthier and more experience and maturing for like $7 million in total cap allocation in 2026.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really nice quarterback room, unless a Joe Burrow option becomes available or, you know, a franchise savior in the draft. And those aren't levers that are currently available here in March of 2026.
If Kyler is not broken and Kyler plays well, though, I don't think you have a choice. You're going to have to sign him at that point.
And so, that's so far away at this point that I don't even like.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if Kyler plays, if you get a Darnold-like season, you're not going to go to the Wilfs and say, let's try this again. So but these are all things that I'm sure they've talked about and all things that could be important. But I just see Kyler as a chance, like, of all of these QBs we're talking about, Kyler is young enough, and if indeed he just had poor coaching and he can get things right here, I mean, he could have years left. You know, with the rest of this list, Geno Smith, he doesn't have years left. And, you know, Kirk Cousins, Carr. So Kyler's a really, really intriguing discussion point. And the only other question is, are there any talks going on behind the scenes with the Vikings or another team about Mac Jones in San Francisco?
Yeah, it just kind of feels like if San Francisco is going to have a hard line of like a 2nd-round pick, why not just go get Kyler Murray especially if these reports are true that Kyler's camp is screaming he wants to go to the Vikings. And you could either give up a 2nd-round pick for Mac Jones or even a 3rd-round pick for Mac Jones if they back off their price, or keep your draft capital and pay essentially nothing for Kyler Murray. That's where, like, the Colts transition tagging Daniel Jones for $37 million is fireable to me. When all these other dudes, either 1-year options or maybe a long-term option in Kyler, who reportedly, according to a couple credible NFL insiders, had the Colts on his list. Wait, I know Daniel Jones is taller, but like for $37 million or anything over 30, or Kyler for 1.3, not coming off an Achilles.
Lots of guys do not like short QBs. I will recklessly speculate this though. What if San Francisco calls you up and says, you need a quarterback and we need a guy that can rush the quarterback? Jonathan Greenard, Mac Jones, and let's say San Francisco throws in like a late round pick or something.
I'd rather get a second round pick, like asset management.
Throwing it out there. I'm not suggesting it's a great idea. I'm just saying it hit me as reckless speculation.
Yeah. No, it's
We're talking about everything right now.
Yeah.
Silly season.
It is. Jalen Nailor, speaking of silly season, just got his bag from the Raiders. 3 years. Have you seen this figure yet, Judd?
No.
What's your guess? 3-year deal.
Jeez, it's probably stupid. 38.
You're close. 35.
Okay.
335, $23 million guaranteed, according to multiple reports on Jalen Nailor.
Good for him. 6th round pick, right?
Yeah. Nice little
2022 draft. Another member gone.
It's a
the
hit.
2022 draft.
It's a hit.
We're down to like Ty Chandler, right?
Does this, because there's been a couple credible NFL insiders now that have said, keep an eye on that Jordan Addison thing. Apparently the Patriots called on him, which we kind of predicted that a couple months ago.
Yeah, we did.
Now that Nailor is officially gone and your number 3 wide receiver spot on your depth chart is totally like zero experience. It's like Ty Felton right now.
Yep.
What are the chances that this feels like it lessens the chances of a Jordan Addison trade? I feel like that would have been percolating, and maybe you would have re-signed Jalen Nailor through that process. But.
Agreed. And Thor did say at the combine he heard that the Vikings still love Jordan. Now, what's interesting is I guess you're going to pick up his 5th-year option. That's not cheap, but it's reasonable enough that I think you could still probably trade him. And I think what Thor has said, and I don't disagree with this, if you're going to trade Addison, unless you think he's going to go off the cliff and do something stupid again shortly, you would trade him next offseason with the 5th-year option picked up.
Yeah. And they have to decide on that 5th year by like the second week in May, I think.
This year.
Which,
yes,
I mean, they'll pick it up.
Yep.
By the way, our guy Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department, he sends us a couple notes here. He said that the Vikings and Nailor's camp did talk numbers yesterday, but nothing came remotely close on the Vikings matching what the Raiders were offering. He also said the Vikings did make a push to bring back Ryan Wright, but they didn't want to come anywhere near the Saints' 4-year, whatever, $14 million contract.
All jokes aside, I'm okay with that one.
And the fact that Wright went to Tulane, he's from that part of the country. So they just decided, yeah, we're good. If we're good on those, find another punter.
That's a lot of money on a punter.
Yeah. So I'm trying to see if there's any other Vikings related. Everything is flying fast and furious, baby. Former Bills guard David Edwards, 4 years, $61 million to the Saints. The Saints are out of salary cap hell for the first time in like 15 years, and they're like, ooh, baby.
Mickey Loomis is like, let's get right back there. Let's get back to salary cap hell.
Yeah. I think that's kind of it on the Vikings barrage of news here, at least for right now. But yeah, from a big picture standpoint, the quarterback thing, and then we should get into the Greenard latest as well.
Yes.
Because some other moves that have gone down do pertain to his potential trade market. Mm-hmm. So this morning, one of the first things that came out of the gate this morning, a few hours before the free agency window opened up, the Cowboys, who missed out on Max Crosby and were kind of tied to the Greenard discussions, they traded for Packers edge rusher Rashawn Gary, gave up like a 4th-round pick for him. And the Patriots, who reportedly called on Greenard and Jordan Addison, they signed Draymond Jones, an edge rusher, for like $12 or $13 million a year. Mm-hmm. Now, could one of those teams maybe look to get even splashier and go for a Greenard trade? Maybe. But to me, those teams are probably off the board. The Philadelphia Eagles, according to ESPN, inquired about Greenard at some point in the last few days.
They make more sense now because Jalen Phillips left. So they need an edge. And to those who say, because it's a fair question, why would you trade a guy who 2 years ago, I think at 12 sacks, had only 3 sacks last year, had injuries, but also had a really good pressure rates? The reason is not because you think he's bad. The reason is because it sounds like he wants a substantial raise. He has 2 years left on his current contract, no guarantees left, and I believe a base salary for 2026 of $19 million. So what you got to consider here is, are the Vikings going to pay him? And if the answer is no, if you can get a second-round draft pick, it makes sense. So, like, this is not a discussion of he's gone off the cliff. This is a discussion of, do you want to pay him at this point when you have Dallas Turner, who needs to play more? And look, if Dallas Turner's not great, you still gave up so much to get him in the first round that I think you owe it to yourself to play him. So this is more of a business decision of the financials on Greenard than like a feeling that he's not going to contribute. He's going to contribute.
Like, to me, I think, and you're not in full control of all of these things happening because there's other humans and teams involved, but if you could have option A, which is Greenard stays on the team and you pay him more money. Let's say you pay him, instead of the $19 million base, you pay him $30 million, and he stays on the team, and he is starting. Andrew Van Ginkel's on the other side, and Dallas Turner in his third year remains a depth guy that you're not using to his max capability. And that's option A. Option B would be you trade Greenard for like a second-round pick and something else, and then start Dallas Turner and bring in someone either via free agency or maybe a smaller trade for depth that's more of a backup that fills that Dallas Turner role. To me, option B feels like better asset management, and you're staying ahead of the age curve.
Right.
And you're putting your first-round pick in a spot to open up and thrive going into age 23, I think it is. Do you disagree?
Completely. No. And in fact, look, I think there is a very good chance that the Vikings can be competitive. So I'm not saying that this team should nuke its chances, but when you look at the 27 draft, which is supposed to be outstanding, when you look at where this team stands right now, and speaking of, you used your assets to take Turner, and Dallas Turner, with Greenard out, played pretty damn well. I got to see more there. And the problem, too, is if Turner remains behind Greenard, he's going to get snaps, but like this whole thing about off-ball, can he play off-ball linebacker? He can. He's not great there. He is a guy who pins his ears back from that left end and rushes or edge. So I guess, in my opinion, if you can get draft pick compensation, and we talked about this, Phil, on the Sunday show that we did, I also wouldn't be adverse to this. What if you trade Greenard to Philadelphia for, like, let's say a 5th round pick and a 2027 first? Or a 27 second. The point being is the draft is better, and that way you tell Philly, don't worry about it, give us a late round draft pick. But what we want to do, I mean, I guess you don't say this out loud, but what you want to do is accrue assets for a draft that is going to be deeper.
I do love the idea of getting creative and stockpiling capital for that 27 draft, because here's the other thing. Whoever you sign at quarterback, Kyler, or hell, if you traded for Mac Jones, like whoever it would be, pick your favorite of these options. Kirk reunion, Geno Smith, Kyler, Mac Jones, whoever the hell it is. Derek Carr coming back.
Can Tarkenton come back?
Tarkenton, dust him off, 80-some years old. J.J. McCarthy, if you're still on the J.J. McCarthy, the 9 bandwagon. It's impossible to be anywhere near even like 80% sure that any of those guys are going to be your starting quarterback in 2027, right? Mm-hmm. Like, all of them are kind of lottery tickets to various degrees. So if you've got assets that you can turn into draft picks, putting some chips on that 2027 table is not a bad idea. But I do get a little nervous dealing with the Eagles because Howie Roseman is the best general manager in the NFL, He wins a lot of transactions. And I just wonder, like, I'd rather be dealing with the Cowboys and the Jones family trying to fleece someone for Jonathan Greenard than Howie Roseman, despite the chaos beneath him in that organization sometimes. So I just wonder, are you going to be able to pull a fast one on the Eagles? But maybe they're
trying to help them right now.
Only choice.
It's not a fast one. I'm trying to help them right now. And they don't have to give up a high draft pick for a year. They got plenty of time. Go get one.
And then you'd be rooting for their utter collapse and demise, because the more they fail, the higher your draft pick would be in 2027 if you can finagle that deal.
Don't look now, but the Giants are coming. I think Washington bounces back a little bit, right? Philly, ripe for chaos. Sirianni, absolutely crazy. I'm just saying, I think I could see the Eastern Division of the National Football Conference being shaken up.
Yeah, it is.
Football.
It is ripe. It is ripe. You know what else is ripe? Pep's Legit Pizza. That's right.
I didn't know you were
Me
going
neither.
with that. I did not know. I'm glad to hear that. Yes, I love Peps.
It's great. Culmination of 100 years of family recipes. They keep it Midwestern, stone-baked, tavern style with that thin, crispy crust, and you can get into several different topping combinations. That one on the screen right there is my favorite. Mushroom, sausage, so good. You can find these in the freezer section of your local grocery store if you're looking for an authentic at-home pizza parlor experience. They're snackable. You could also eat them just as dinner, but find out for yourself. Pep's Legit Pizza, helping to power the new league year here on Purple Daily, which technically is Wednesday. But anything else, it feels like we're caught up on like the transactional news here, but what else besides, I mean, the Addison thing is interesting. It just, the fact that that's now been reported by two different, Albert Breer and somebody else had it too. Like, keep an eye on this Addison thing over here. If they were to do that, where would you guys draw the line in terms of what the offer would have to be for Jordan Addison?
I'd probably have to get back at least a day 2 pick. If that's what we're trying to draw the line.
Like someone says a 3rd round pick.
I'd do it. I think I'd do it. I know. At his peak, that's certainly selling low. But if you have a contingency plan of either drafting another wide receiver early or signing one, I guess probably signing one might not be the wisest either. But if there's a contingency plan, then I can be for it. But I understand why people would think that's still selling low.
I think it's not surprising that teams are, and it's probably other teams are sniffing around him because he's really, really good, but he's a definite wild card. So I would probably, if you call me, I'm looking for at least a second. If not a first. If not trying for a first, but a second.
Ding, ding.
I mean, a 2nd round pick, and then I don't have to spend one more waking second wondering if he's going to get arrested and suspended for 6 games. Like, that's the problem now going forward is, okay,
I know.
What's he going to do?
And God forbid it's worse, right? Like, God forbid it's bad.
Yeah. And if, like, as you unpack this, what is the % chance that you would give him a long-term contract? Like, let's say in a year from now. If you were the GM, what is the % chance that you would give him a long-term $30+ million a year
At the
contract?
rate things are going right now, I would not.
So 0.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do that right now in good conscience.
I'm pretty close to 0 too, because it's like, I don't know, dude. That the suspension clock, like, it doesn't go backwards at this point for him. Like, the risk on that. So if we're in lockstep and we agree, yeah, he's not getting an extension, so you're looking to move on from him at some point and get value for him.
Yep.
If a team were to offer me a 2nd round pick, I would almost certainly jump at that. Now, the Niners might be looking to do the Mac Jones thing, right? Well, we could use a receiver over here. I don't know that I'm trading Addison or Greenard for 1 year of Mac Jones. I'd rather have a draft pick so I could go get a 21-year-old player in the 2nd round and have that player under team control for 4 years.
In my opinion, the difference is this with Greenard. We have no idea what he's asking for. So like with Jordan, it's concerned about what he's going to do next, which is a big concern. But there is right now financial stability there. He's on he's going into the 4th year of his rookie contract in 26. 27 is the 5th year option. It's not cheap, but you know the exact price. And by the way, for a productive receiver, it's not a bad price. The Greenard thing that makes it sort of a wild card to me is, and it sounds like it's trending more and more, he's asking for a lot. And so that's where it gets to be a sticking point of, oh, okay, I'm not paying that. If I can trade you for something, if you took Greenard, if he had 2 years left on his contract with cost certainty, first of all, you probably don't trade him. But second of all, it becomes much simpler to deal him. But I wonder if there's sticker shock.
Yeah, that's probably a bigger hang up than, like, at this point, a late first round pick for Greenard is a no-brainer for some teams right now. Like, no-brainer. But, it's Greenard and he wants...
Right.
He's at 19 million base or whatever, and the top of the market is $45 million, and he wants to be closer to that. That becomes more problematic. But let me put the second piece of this recklessly speculative question on the table.
Reckless speculation.
Because you saw the Seahawks do this, and I've alluded to this on the Greenard front. Could you trade Greenard, then go get what's the Cooper Kupp equivalent to a veteran free agent edge rusher? Well, the 49ers are the team that's continued to be kind of and by the way, it was reported too that New England called on Addison, which is interesting. So let's say either the Niners or New England, they make a real offer for Jordan Addison. Late second round pick in both cases. The Niners have the 58th overall pick. The Patriots have the 63rd overall pick. So they offer you a late second round pick. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think either one of those teams has made a big move to add a wide receiver. I don't think. Both have subtracted talented wide receivers. But could I interest you in a late second round pick for Jordan Addison? And then you go to the free agent market. Who's your Cooper Kupp? Right? Who are you? DK Metcalf out in Seattle. Who's your Cooper Kupp? Stephon Diggs. Projected at 1 year, $13 million on PFF. Jefferson, Diggs, and you'd be looking to draft a receiver to be your number 2 long term, maybe your number 3 this year.
The Diggs experience has taken so many twists and turns since he departed our fine state. Somebody like that, no problem. Diggs in particular,
he was really good still last year.
Yeah,
he's
I
being.
like Diggsy.
I think he's being sued by 2 people right now.
By the way,
though.
Mike Evans to the 49ers as we're having this
Oh, okay.
conversation.
Well, then never mind.
Yeah.
There it is. Well, there's still other Patriots.
Yeah. The Patriots are out there. What did Mike Evans get? Does it say?
I haven't seen it quite yet. It's a
deal.
It's a great fit for both. I like that fit, by the way, for both of them, Evans and the Niners.
It's a 3-year deal. There are no financial numbers yet, but I'm sure one of the agents will float this to 5 different reporters with full credit here in the next 3 minutes.
Oh, you're right. And Shefty just has the term as far as the 3 years, but there's no agent names. You don't get your name in there until you give me the financials.
Give me the financials, baby. Yeah.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah. Mike Evans finally had that 1,000-yard streak come to an end, right? Last year was the first.
Oh, he missed a bunch of time, right?
Yeah, he got injured. And it's funny because the year before that, it was the 1,000-yard streak, and he also had like a $2 or $3 million bonus tied to the 1,000-yard number. And in a blowout game, they were just running hurry up and trying to get him extra targets.
Yeah, I think he caught like a 4th down pass at the end of the last game to get it.
They celebrated. They ran off the field celebrating.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, if you do find a trade partner for Jordan Addison, and you'd be looking then for your Cooper Kupp equivalent, just get him in for a year or two like Seattle did, you could do a lot worse than the productivity Stephon Diggs put up last year with the Patriots. 99 catches, 1,100 yards. He only had 3 drops, 2.9% drop rate. Jordan Addison had 8 drops last season.
Oh, yeah, no, he's just gotten to be enormous pain.
Why don't you come home where you're comfortable in the Midwest? We'll stay off the coast. You can all just kind of chill.
Where you wouldn't play with Kirk Cousins.
Reckless speculation.
But you'd love it here with Geno Smith or Derek Carr. Would be great.
Kyler? All right.
Kyler. I feel like a lot of guys, from a football standpoint, respect Kyler's game. They're like excited about his athletic ability and just some of the joystick maneuvering that he does on a football field.
I could see that.
Yeah. Any other thoughts from you guys before we'll probably put an end to this live stream and kind of see what else percolates between now and either tonight or sometime tomorrow. But any other final thoughts from you guys here?
I just think that this now builds up the amount of potential positions at which I'm really curious to see how they're going to be addressed. Wide receiver now for sure, running back, safety, defensive tackle. Like there's a lot of needs here, and I am certainly not advocating for going out and spending on all of them, but where do they pick and choose? So you've got some cornerback depth now, which was very wise at a very reasonable deal, but you're not going to be drafting for day one starters across the board. So I am really, really curious to see how the depth shakes out, and it does seem like this team, if they are going to commit to the run, that's a big if, but if they're going to commit to the run, you definitely need a younger, probably more explosive replacement for Jones, don't you?
Yeah, I would.
Catch
I
some
mean,
passes.
a home run hitter is the thing I've been banging on the table for on Purple Daily here. Just someone who, if it's blocked right, can hit a 60-yard bomb, just like Barney.
Barnabas.
Barney's he's a scat back. He's a scat back. Look at that. He's shaking and baking.
The Alvin Kamara of Zolgad Dogs.
Darren Sproles. He's Darren
Sproles.
Can return punts too.
That's right, and he can nap with the best of them.
Yep, he's been napping the entire morning. That's 2:00 now. Yeah, he's doing a good job.
So, all right, dudes. Well, that's the first wave of activity here. If you missed the first hour and a half reaction, we were live on the Football Takes channel, which you can find us with Thor Nystrom and some of the big moves early, and then us reacting also to a couple things Vikings related. So go find that channel on YouTube, Apple and Spotify, Football Takes. And here, if you're new, maybe you're just finding us on Purple Daily here right now, hit that subscribe button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel, the like button on this episode. We may see you again later on today if something else big happens. If not, we'll see you tomorrow and the day after that. And we'll keep an eye on Quarterback Watch 2026.
And the next day.
And don't forget Blackstack.
The next day.
And Blackstack on Thursday, yeah, from 5 to 7 for a fun little recap of the first few days of free agency. And then one more plug to Thor Talks Purple. I think they just got done recording, and that episode will drop on the Score North YouTube channel, and then Thor Talks Purple, Apple, and Spotify. So for Barnabas, for Judd,
say bye, Barney.
For Dex, for Ryan Wright, have fun down there in New Orleans. I'm Phil, and we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. See you guys.